only service it once you see the forks is leaking.
Exactly, but that's the wrong thing to do.
Hey guys, so today we are ready for part 2. Orlando is on his way to me now. We are going to assemble, where is it? There it is, the lemon. So last week I sent him home with my bike. He hadn't been on a bike for a while, so I said, that's fine. Take it. He needed some seat time. But today we're going to be working on the lemon. There she is. And he is on his way to come and assist. Well, there he is. I can hear him coming.
That bike's coming, that bike's coming. There he is. What a beauty. Mr. LaRue.
Awesome, pal. Wow. Yeah, that's freaking hot. That's freaking hot. Oh, yeah?
How was the ride?
My pal, you're amazing. This thing is solid on the road. Acceleration is awesome. The handling of the bike in corners. Oh, I don't know. It's you obviously, I haven't been on the bike for a while.
Yeah.
So
How long has it been now? 2 years.
Could be 3 years. Make it 3 years off the bike. Well, 3 years on and off. But I had a run with the boys on Friday night. Gen 1 booster, Gen 2 booster. What is Neil got?
K4.
K4. Yeah, hanging with the guys. And what I enjoyed most about the run on Friday night, was hanging in the corners.
Yeah.
So I wasn't going very fast, but I was riding in my pace. But while I was riding in my pace, the bike I didn't feel scared or
Comfortable.
comfortable. So I was enjoying the bends. Very nice. Like I said, I haven't been on the bike for a while, but Friday night's run was awesome. With the boys, so you can actually just test the limits. But going into the corners, coming out within this bike is solid.
That feeling of
feeling.
I can go fast. The bike can go faster, but I feel safe here.
Yes, exactly like that. So I wasn't trying to be overconfident. Bring you a wheel, a wheel and an axle.
That phone call. Thank you, man.
So can you come with a bakkie? Yeah, nice. But I mean, all in all, I've had the bike for a week now. I've done some commuting in traffic. No problems there. My cruising into work at 12 o'clock at night. Stellenbosch arterial is quiet. R300 is quiet.
Cruising speeds.
N1 is quiet, so the road is open, so I could have, twisted on the throttle a little bit. But the acceleration, the road holding of the bike, for me, it's perfect. I just have one request. What do we need to do to get that bike in this condition? That's it, pal.
Yo. Now that's a long conversation.
Is it safe to say get a cooler box?
How are we gonna have to sit down and talk about that one? So I rode Neil's. What did he have before this? The gold K6.
K6, yeah.
And then I remember the two of us. We were on the road somewhere, and I was on my bike. What was I riding that time? I was riding that bike. No. Yeah, your old bike.
The old one, yeah.
And I pulled him. And then we swapped bikes.
Yeah, I remember this one.
It was a Good Friday pickle fish run, our three boys.
Was that the run that I blew my motor?
That's the run you blew that motor. So then Neil and I, we swapped bikes. And then we pulled, and I passed him. So he said, okay, clearly he's the problem, not the bike. I'm faster, he's slower. But as we were sitting in the corner, you know, that way you're leaning, and I came off the track. So for me, I can get knee down. I was sitting on the R300, taking it onto the N2, heading towards Somerset. And I'm leaning and I'm like, yo, this bike is dancing with me. And he came past me on my own bike under me and drove off. And I was like, now you see, that is what's the difference between a fast bike and a faster bike. The suspension. Because if you don't feel safe on the bike, you're going to close throttle. You're not going to go faster.
Yes.
You're going to be in that corner and you're like, something's not right here. I'm going to go off the bridge. I'm not going to stay on the bridge. But let's sit down, man. Let's talk more about this conversation.
Okay, so change of plans. We were supposed to work on the lemon today, but we decided to have a conversation about suspension.
Yeah, man.
So, suspension, what is suspension? You know when you're going into a corner and you're coming on at speed and you're taking that corner, but you feel how the bike isn't actually following the road, the bike's actually drifting out. That's when your suspension isn't
Set up properly.
set.
Yeah.
So it's in that case, I think, what's the word? I think it's understeering. So you're supposed to steer here, but it's steering there. So it's not steering enough. And then you also get oversteering where the opposite is happening. You're supposed to follow the road, but you're actually coming in. But at the end of the day, in order for us to fix that, we need to fix, firstly, your tires needs to be right. If your tires isn't round, I don't know if you've heard of guys that have square tires.
Yeah.
So that's when you're commuting too much. Then you also get pitched tires. So a pitched tire is where, let's just say you're riding Killarney racetrack.
Yeah.
It's got one left, four rights.
Yep.
So the right side of the tire is wearing off more
than
the left side isn't so much. So now when you're actually on the bike, you're turning to the one side and you're feeling, okay, the bike is turning difficult, but you're managing it.
Yeah.
Then you turn to the other side, and then as you're turning, and then boom,
Yep.
the whole bike drops. So now that's again when the tire isn't round.
Isn't round. Yeah.
So now your tire is pitched. And a lot of guys, they think they're riding so well, but then it's actually their tires, or they're thinking there's difficulty with their suspension, all of that sort of stuff. But it's actually your tire.
Yeah.
I'm so comfortable turning left, but I can't turn right.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot. Yeah.
It could be your tire. Then your forks. I was watching Dave Moss earlier. Dave Moss, suspension expert. That man, don't take my word for it. Don't watch this video. This is a suspension video, but go watch Dave Moss. 2 clicks out. That guy is amazing. He made a statement saying, remember the old Indians? They used to have smoke signals.
Yeah.
And they have conversations with smoke signals.
Yeah.
Then you get the old ladies that used to read tea leaves. He said this, man. I watched the video.
Okay.
He said this. He says, we don't read tea leaves anymore. And in the same way, you're supposed to, just like the old ladies read a tea leaf and they see here's a message here. Yeah. And the Indians used to see smoke signals. Oh, little Johnny stuck in the mountain. You know, they see the smoke signals. Yeah. He says you must read your tire. Your tire will tell you if there's too much rebound, too much compression, your sag isn't right, your preload, all that stuff. Your tire tells you, gives you all this information.
Just by looking at the tire.
Just by looking at the tire. Now, okay, we're not experts. We can look at this tire here. There's cold tear, there's hot tear, there's stuff that tire is telling us, but
we don't know.
What do we know?
Yeah.
We're not experts. But before we even get there, is your forks. So when it comes to doing your suspension, the first thing that you need to ask yourself is, how long have I owned this bike?
And how old is the oil in these forks? Why? Old oil doesn't work like new oil, right? The same like when you service your engine. You know, if you don't have enough oil in, or if the oil is too old, it's thick, it's dirty, the viscosity isn't right, it's too thin, it's not working properly, it's too thick, it's not working properly. So our forks needs to be serviced. A lot of guys, they own a bike for 5 years, 10 years, even 3 years. They don't know when last was those forks serviced.
You only service it once you see the forks is leaking.
Exactly, but that's the wrong thing to do.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, that is. Speak to any biker. Hey, when last did you change your oil on your forks? I don't know. Must I do that?
Yeah.
You know? I can't remember if it was McFadden, David McFadden, the fucking racing expert in Cape Town. I think when he did my forks one day, he told me, yo, that stuff was bad. There was sludge coming out the bottom. It was so thick, ungepak.
Yeah.
You know, both on the what do you call it, thick and stuck to the sides. So I think he said something about every third service, and if you're servicing every 5,000 kilometers, every 15,000 kilometers, do your forks.
Okay.
And then it's an easy service. You unscrew these top caps, they take those giant syringes, and they suck out all the fork oil, clean it out with some cleaner, and then they put in the correct amount of oil, close it up, and Bob's your uncle.
Yeah.
But if you wait until your seals are leaking, then it's a much bigger job.
Then you have to replace.
Then you must take the whole thing apart, everything, all the little stuff is lying there. I mean, we saw the videos of redoing your fork seals. That's a much bigger job. But so yeah, so if your fork oil is old, you're gonna have bad suspension. So anyway, so when it comes to setting up your suspension, there's different ways. 90% of the time, you're gonna set up your suspension for you.
Yep.
If you have your wife on the back, if you have luggage on the back, how often does that happen? Twice a year?
At most.
Exactly. Unless you get some people, they ride every single weekend with their wives on the bike. But
then you obviously set it up according to
that. Yeah. So when you set up the suspension, you then set it up with both of you on the bike. But in order for your suspension to work properly, you want to set it up for you, right? Or in this case, for me. I weigh 85. Standard settings on a bike when it leaves the factory is about for an 85 kilogram person. If you weigh 100, 110 or 60, a standard bike setting won't work for you.
Of course.
So basically, where you start with that is you start with your preload.
Preload. What's that?
Your preload is you get static sag, and then you get rider sag. Basically the same thing. The one is just the weight of the bike. The rider sag is the weight of the bike and the rider. So now, if you take a spring, take a normal spring, like a spring out of a pen, and you press it down like this.
Yeah.
As you put more tension on it, the spring compresses. That's preload.
Okay.
So when you get onto the bike, you are pushing down that spring. So you're sitting on the bike, you're compressing that spring. But the spring works in a certain range of motion.
Yeah.
If that spring is too compressed, it can't work anymore.
Yeah.
Right?
So it's not fully functional.
If that spring is very loose, then it's not working properly. Yeah. So you want, if you're riding on the road and it's a bumpy road, and if you're riding long distance, you want a comfortable, soft ride. So you want, I think they say, 35 to 40 millimeters sag.
Okay.
So you get on the bike and you measure this, the chrome part of your fork, and it moves down, and you're getting a 40 millimeter sag.
When you're on the track, you don't want it so soft. You want it, race mode now, bang.
Let's go.
And the bike needs to be solid, needs to be sturdy. Now you want a 25 millimeter sag. And the millimeters is actually based on your range of motion. So you measure the chrome section, and you say, okay, I only want 20% for track and movement, and I want 35% movement for the road.
Yeah.
And if based on that length, we then adjust it accordingly. So when you get on the bike and the bike is hard, the suspension is hard, and you're sitting down on it, that thing's not going to move.
Okay.
So you want your sag to be soft for the road, hard for the track, and that is what you call your static sag. But if your wife is on the bike with you, there's an extra 60, 70 kilos on the bike with you.
Bike, yeah.
So now the geometry, everything is different.
Yeah.
But it only happens once a year, so who cares?
Yeah.
Then there's the next thing. So we need to set that. That is basically, you want to keep, if your forks operate in this range, but the fork is so big and it operates there, you want to sit, and when you sit on the bike, it must move down to that space.
I get you.
If it moves down and it hasn't reached that space, it's too soft.
It's too soft, yeah.
Or too hard, too hard. If it moves down past that space, it's too soft.
Okay.
So when you're sitting down on the bike, and it must be in that space, and that is your best range. That is when you are working at your best, that is when the forks are working at its best.
Yeah.
So that is static sag. To set that, we put the rider on. So if it would be me with my suit and my gloves and my helmet and my boots, everything. And if I'm riding to work every single day with the backpack on, we put the backpack and the laptop and the charger also on, and you sit on the bike. And we adjust the preload, make it harder, make it softer, to get it in that range.
Yeah.
So that's step one. It's your preload. But now that you've got your preload right, the bike is bouncy.
Okay.
So what does bouncy mean? You've got your compression and your rebound.
Please explain.
So when you come into a corner and you must brake hard, the forks drop.
Yes.
That's compression. But then you realize, oh, the light is green. Or I'm now taking the bend. And now you release the brakes. And the bike comes back up again. That is your rebound.
Okay.
But when you are in a bend and you are twitchy on the throttle and the bike is doing this,
Okay.
and you feel like, flip, I'm going to fly off this bike, this thing is uncomfortable, that's when your rebound is too soft.
It's too soft.
So now you're in the corner and you're braking, and the bike is moving down, and you're releasing and you're accelerating, and the bike is busy throwing you out. And now you're knocked. You are, what's the word? You are uncomfortable. You are in shock. You don't feel safe.
Yeah.
So you rather slow down.
Yeah.
You want to be. Hey, there's another guy in the canyons, in the sweeps, in the mountains with you. I must chase that guy. I must be in front.
Natural instinct. Yeah.
Yes. So what do? We need to stabilize that bike. So we don't want to make it mustn't be so choppy.
Yeah.
We want to ride it out, and the bike must be stable through the corners.
And I'm assuming the more stable the bike, the more comfortable you would be, and the more comfortable you are, the harder you can accelerate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The more comfortable you are, the safer you feel on the bike, the harder you can ride, the faster you can ride, and you will still stay within your comfort zone.
Yep.
You will stay within the limits of the bike. But as soon as the bike's limits are there, but your suspension settings are there, you're riding next to it.
It just doesn't add up.
You're not you're not riding, the bike is not at its best. It's not performing at its peak. So you're not going to get anything out of it, and you are just going to feel unsafe, and the bike is just not going to perform better, or not going to perform great. How do we test all of this? I'm going to push down on the forks,
Okay.
right? And just watch what does the forks do. How fast does it come up? How slow does it go down? How slow does it come up? When it comes up, does it bounce still, or does it just come up and stay there? That is your compression and rebound.
Yeah.
That is basically normally you're riding according to feel, but you can still set it based on just a simple test. So watch here, and if I do this, the bike just came up.
Yeah.
And it stopped. Now we can set so my rebound it's been set. I did the track in December. I set it. This is stock settings. So, and that's also why, okay, it's not on that side now, it's on this side. That's also why I have the O-ring around the shock here. So this movement, it comes up, it stays there, it is stable. Then we get this movement. There's no bounce.
No bounce. Yeah.
Comes up nice and slowly. Stable. And if we do it in the center, there was a small bounce.
There's a bounce. Yeah.
So that is enough. That is fine. We don't want more than that. Some bikes, you bounce, and then as it comes up,
You got like 2 or 3.
so now what will happen is, if you're in a corner, I remember already coming out of turn 5, coming out of turn 4 on the racetrack, leaning this way coming out of turn 4, and as I picked up the bike and accelerated, one of the marshals behind me was watching me, and he said to me, "You need to stiffen up your suspension." I was like, well, I don't know, what does that mean? He said, "No, when you're coming out of turn 4, the whole bike is doing this.
Okay.
The back is bouncing."
It's bouncing. Yeah.
So I said, no wonder I'm not feeling comfortable out of the corners. And going back to Dave Moss saying you can read the tires, his words were, you will see on the ends of the tires, you will see little patches of, I made contact with the road, I didn't make contact, I made contact with the road. So basically what is happening is you're in the bend and your tire is bouncing through the bend. So that's how you read the tire. Okay guys, so this is the rubber band I spoke about, and this is what tells you how your forks are performing. Now, not everybody puts this on. Some guys, you can add it on afterwards. You can put a little cable tie around it. But what this thing does is, it's going to tell you how well your forks are performing. If your suspension is set to soft, this rubber band will end up at the bottom. It will be bottoming out. If your suspension is set too hard, your rubber band will sit on the top, and it will be very aggressive braking. You want it to work within the optimum range, which is in the middle here. So you can be on the soft side of the optimum range, which is lower down. You can be on the hard side of the optimum range, which is higher up. But you want your suspension to work within that specific range. Anything more than that, you could end up losing control if your bike is braking. If you're braking and it's going all the way down to the bottom, you're bottoming out. It's a hazard, it's a danger. If your bike is braking and it's just you on top, then that also means you've got very little stability on the road. Your suspension is not working, it's too stiff. You are not going to be able to take a corner properly. So this really tells you a lot, and it tells you what is going on with your bike. That also means that your compression might be too hard. That could be that your preload is set too high. So all of those things this is an indicator of a lot of those things. Then regarding the preload and the compression and the rebound, that is personal preference. if you want to go on the long road and you want a nice, soft, cushy ride, you want the bike to absorb the bumps, so there's less pressure on your body, then obviously you're going to set your bike to have a nice, soft setting, because that is your daily riding or your type of riding style. If you're a very aggressive person and you want to be taking the bike more to the track, more to the mountain sweeps, the canyons, those sorts of things, and you're a boy racer, you want to be challenging everybody else, then you want a slightly stiffer suspension where it gives you better feedback and you've got a better handling, better response from the bike, and you can flick it better into the corners. So let's just quickly give a real world example of static sag or rider sag. We'll put this all the way to the top and we'll ask Orlando to get onto the bike. And as Orlando gets onto the bike, you'll see where the bike is sagged, and then quickly get off. And you'll see this is where my rider sag is currently sitting. That's about 25 mils. So we could make it a little bit softer to get it to about 30 mil, but he doesn't have his gear, he doesn't have his jacket, his boots, his helmet, his gloves. That extra little bit of weight that might push it down that little bit more, because at the end of the day we want our rider sag to be at about 20 mils for racing, 35 millimeters for soft riding. Personally, I'm looking at about 30 mils, so it's best of both worlds. And then get on again. So there we go, that's rider sag. And now an example of soft braking. Just force your weight down into the bike and let go. There you go, try again. And then just release, go push all the way back, just let go. So that there you'll see. So this rubber band doesn't move much, but this is light braking. Now, in the event of him coming into a corner and having to brake extremely hard, or a car turning in front of him and having to brake extremely hard, then this could move a lot further down. In your daily riding, you would be sitting around about here somewhere. In extreme situations, emergency braking obviously would be going a little bit further down, but as soon as we bottom out, we know that our suspension is set way too soft. Yo, that was a lot of information.
It was, eh? It's kind of tiring.
So yeah, guys, that is what suspension is in a nutshell. If you, I did a brief explanation on how to set it. If you're looking for some more precise details, I will put links below to various different guys that have done it in the past. There's Dave Moss, there's Adobo Moto, there's a couple of guys that have done it. And it seems difficult, seems like information overload.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's actually very, very simple. With a little piece of paper and some simple math, you can very quickly figure this out in a tape measure. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys.
And please don't forget to like and subscribe.
Don't forget to like and subscribe, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for the follow-up to the lemon.
Yeah.
We're going to finish up the lemon in the next video. But thanks for watching, guys.
Cheers, guys.
See you soon. Peace.
Peace out.